Let's talk about EY and how you can pass their first round interview. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Read English here to help you get hired, and today we're going to be talking about one of the big four professional services companies, EY, and how you can pass their first round interview. So who is EY? EY employs over 400,000 people in over 150 countries. They are the third largest of the big four professional services companies globally, coming behind PwC and Deloitte, but in front of KPMG. And as a global entity, they earned over $50 billion last year. EY offers the first of its kind EY Tech MBA, which it does in collaboration with Holt Business School, and this year became carbon negative, on its way to becoming carbon neutral in 2025. So what can you expect from the EY interview process? As we've spoken about before, this will vary between graduates and professionals. If you're a professional, you're much more likely to be interviewed on the phone, via video or face-to-face, but that will be done in real life. But we're going to zero in a little bit more about what you can expect from the video interview. We're going to cover the 6 most common questions that you can expect to come across. And I'm also going to be covering a framework to answer situational judgment test questions, which has proven really helpful and is a good thing for you to learn because you're probably going to need it when you apply for PwC, for Deloitte and for KPMG, which you're going to be doing all at the same time. Now just remember, if you want to find out more information about this guide for EY, check out the link down in the description below. So what can you expect from EY's video interview? So we've spent the time to go through recent candidate experiences from 2024 who actually accepted an offer at EY. And one of them described the online video test or job simulation as this: an online interview consisting of a written exercise or drafting an email, 4 video interview questions and some situational judgment questions. In the video interview, you had 2 minutes to think of an answer and 2 minutes to say your answer. So if you're sitting there thinking about how long your script should be, it's going to be roughly about 200 words, about 100 words per minute. You might speak a bit slower or a bit faster, but that's a good thing for you to aim for and have a constraint around if you're sitting there writing out your scripts. So here are the 6 most common questions that we came across when we're going through past interview experiences from candidates who had accepted an offer at EY. Question number 1. What attracts you to EY? Now, you will have just heard my little introduction about EY, who they are and why it's important. And you will have noticed that I included 5 or 6 key and unique facts which are relevant to the business. Now, this is really the way that you want to think about preparing your answer for why EY, or in fact, why any company. Make sure you go and read their annual report. And for most companies, their annual reports will stretch to 100 or 200 pages or more. But here's a little trick. All you need to do is read the chairman's statement or the CEO's statement, and they're going to give you all the goodies. And generally what's going to happen is a company will present all of the best figures, best projects, the best clients, the best things very early on in the annual report in some pretty little tables and graphs. And you can use that to take the most relevant information for you. If you want to deliver a little bit more depth to this answer, then you might pick out one thing you like about EY which personally relates to you. It could be your gender, it could be your ethnicity, it could be your personal background, it could be something that EY is doing which really interests you in terms of technology or ESG. Whatever it is, you can take that and then relate yourself to that and why it's important. Question number 2, why this role? So whatever role that you're applying to, this is one of those questions that you should always expect to be asked. Why do you want to work in tax? Why do you want to work in audit? And the way that you don't want to answer this question is just, it's really interesting and I'm really keen and excited and I'd work really hard and this would be a great opportunity for me. This is a very selfish answer to give, because essentially you're just talking about yourself and why you're awesome. What you really want to think about is answering this question in a 2-part answer. Number 1, what would you do in the job? Now, it's a really good idea for you to have a job description to hand which you can refer to, particularly if you're doing your interview in a one-way video interview where you're being asked questions, you've got some time to prepare and then you can answer. Now, one thing to recognize about video interviews in particular, which are being analyzed by some sort of AI, is they're going to be looking out to pick out particular keywords or phrases that they can then go away and say, this person seems to be a really good match. And one of the most likely things that they're going to be looking for is going to be keywords or phrases which come from the job description. So use the first part of your answer, just describe what would you do, what would be your daily duties, what would be the types of things that you would experience, would be out of the office, in the office, do you need to know particular software, particular technical knowledge, and you can just mention that in passing. The second part of your answer is really picking out 2 or 3 key skills which you believe are fundamentally important for the job, and just providing a short amount of proof that you are good at those things. For example, you could say, one of the things that I'm really great at is Excel. I know that this will be really important in my job as an auditor, as I've actually used Excel for the last 5 years, both at A-level and also for my undergraduate degree, and I can do everything from macros to VBAs and all of those advanced functions in Excel. Question number 3, give me the latest piece of news around your chosen job. Now, one thing that you always want to be aware of doing, and this is particularly true for EY, because in the partner interview, which tends to be separate from the assessment center, you're going to be asked to give a presentation and prepare a PowerPoint which is specific to your division and what you're going to be doing. Now, keeping up to date to business and industry news doesn't have to mean that you read the Financial Times every day or you've got Bloomberg on in the background. It's really just something as simple as signing up to a weekly newsletter for your industry. So that could be for audit, for tax, for consulting. It could be through ICAEW. It could be through Accountancy Age. Whatever it is, just making sure that you're keeping up to date and you have a recent piece of news that you can speak on. And by recent, we mean in the next 3 months. And by speak on, we basically mean something that you can explain to a child, and you could also answer questions based on that subject. And if you want to be a little bit more in-depth about how you answer this question, then why don't you give a forward-looking outlook about how this piece of news would affect EY's clients or EY as a whole. Question number 4, what would you do to ensure that stakeholders were engaged in the project that you were currently working on? Now, this is a really good opportunity to just go off on a little bit of a side quest and talk about how to answer situational judgment test questions. Now, if you click down in the link in the description below and go to see the full written guide, which is on our website, jobreadyenglish.com, you'll see that within that guide is reference to a course called SJT Sorted. Now, situational judgment tests are actually the type of online test that most people struggle with because it's interpretive based upon the language, and also there is a presumption that you have had some form of work experience. So what I want to give you now is a 6-step framework to think about how to answer situational judgment test questions, which forms the part of our course SJT Sorted. So this actually comes as part of a 3-part framework. Part number 2 is what's the context, so who's involved? What do they need? Who gets priority if there is more than one person? What are your responsibilities and obligations? What is your position and extent of your authority? And what is the wider context, the role you're applying to in real life? So how do you keep stakeholders engaged? Well, you communicate with them. You set out expectations, you ask them if they have any questions, you make yourself available. And probably something that we've all experienced, and this doesn't have to be in the workplace, is, you know, a time when you've complained about something or you've got an issue that needs to be solved straight away. Something that frustrates all of us is when somebody says they're going to get back to us and they don't. So just having open and clear lines of communication and expectations, even if the communication is just to say, look, we're still working on it, it's something that's still going on. I'm sure that this is something that we can all appreciate and we have experienced in our daily lives. Question number 5, what does building a better working world mean to you? Now, about 7 or 8 years ago, EY made a massive drive to double its headcount, double its revenue, all under the banner of building a better working world. Now, this is something, a link that we will provide in the guide down in the link in the description below. But essentially it's kind of driven by this purpose of the 3 values, which is people who demonstrate integrity, respect, learning and inclusiveness, people with energy, enthusiasm and the courage to lead, people who build relationships based on doing the right thing. So what does building a better working world mean to you? It could mean better collaboration, helping others, demonstrating leadership, throwing energy and enthusiasm into new activities, which is an experience that you can draw from yourself using situation, task, action, result, using an example from your working life or your extracurricular life, or if you don't have that experience, from your academic life, and then applying that based upon those 3 values. And finally, question number 6. What was your biggest setback and how did you overcome it? Now, when we're talking about a setback or a challenge, one thing that I often say to people is it's got to be something that's significant. It's not like I went to the shop and there was no milk and I didn't know what to do and had a meltdown. So it could be maybe something that's like I didn't get the university that I chose. I failed an exam. I was late getting something in. I had to put in some extra hours because I was doing evening and weekend work while I was at university. So one thing that I think is really helpful for trying to answer this question is trying to teach somebody how to do that thing. Now, I often say to people there's a difference between saying what you did and teaching somebody how to do something. So if you had this big setback or challenge and you're laying it out in the STAR format, so you talk about, when was it, where were you, what were you doing, what was the setback, and then really talking about the steps that you took to overcome that challenge. And by doing that, you'll find it really easy, number 1, to answer this question effectively, give it some reasonable content, to tell a decent story, and to give specifics and details. Guys, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I look forward to your comments down below. Please, if you have enjoyed this video, make sure you like and comment on the video. It helps other people to find us, and it helps us to know that we're making good content for you. I wish you the best of luck in your interview. Bye.